Well, Stan, let's get to right to it with your reference to scandal, because you're right on point, right to the T. And let me just give you a brief outline of scandal, all within the last 2 to 3 years. Sex on the beach. Bobby Tamaris, beach patrol, police officer, law enforcement, is sent to prison for having sexual intercourse with a 16-year-old lifeguard over a period of time. This is under Frank Bruno's watch as the county chair. Rich Gardner, a captain in the beach patrol, again, law enforcement, fired by the county for having an affair with an employee under his command, a married man, having an affair. At least General Petraeus had the honor of stepping down. Southeast Volusia Advertising Authority, the previous director, and I'm not going to get into her, who she is, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is, because of legal issues, but the bottom line is Frank Bruno gave her the green light to take over. She was a board member when the previous director quit. And he gave her the green light to take over. No vetting, no applications, nothing. And she gets this huge salary, $110,000, when the previous director was making like $85,000. And what happens? Several months later, Jim Deneen, the county manager, comes running to the county council. I need your emergency powers to take over because they're spending too much. Too much money is going into her than what they were supposed to do. So what happens? The county takes over the advertising authority, the day-to-day operations. Bruno is quoted in the media saying, "Oh yeah, she's going to get, this is criminal. We're going to do stuff about this." What happens? Nothing's ever. She's never charged. Never charged with a crime. Never could get any definition about FDLE in an investigation. The most the county could do was put a civil lien on her, which, if everything's in her husband's name and you can't take someone's house in Florida, it means the county was out, tens of thousands of dollars that they lost in the allegations of money being taken. But with that said, what did the county do in terms of taking over? Because they were so concerned about too much money being spent for one director, they put 4 people from from Deneen's staff, including the county spokesman, Dave Byron, who, with all of them collectively over 8 months, you're talking $500,000 in salary when they were concerned about, a salary that wouldn't have exceeded $200,000. So that's another scandal. And of course, as soon as we got into the primaries over, suddenly the News Journal and other media stopped reporting on the advertising authority scandal. It suddenly became no mention. Then there was the issue of County Manager Jim Deneen. Frank Bruno, of course, Dorothy Huckel was very critical of him in her race with him for state senate, that he was taking too many trips. So what is it? He goes to Washington to meet with instead of meeting with the president or some high-level cabinet, like they promoted themselves as doing in the media, they meet with some glad-hander at the lowest end. But who doesn't get on the plane? Jim Deneen, the county manager. Why? Because his county-issued, taxpayer-funded sport utility vehicle is stolen while he's tying down his private boat, which was being towed by a public vehicle. So there's that issue. And then you had, as Sally Gillis, who's not with us tonight, another contributing blogger, she waxed poetic about the scandal involving missed opportunities with the airport, where a private contractor wanted to come in for $100 million,
Yeah.
and they jerked them around and they ended up losing their funding opportunities, and it didn't happen. Then you had the Ocean Center, where Frank Bruno signed documentation allowing the News Journal exclusive rights to hold home shows at the Ocean Center. It was a Stop Rival Organizations. It was a group out of Orange County that was promoting itself as having a home show. And so here they are saying, well, the Ocean Center is not supposed to make money, it's supposed to encourage other businesses to make money. But here's where they're actually reducing opportunities for vendors to come in. And of course, Bruno took care of that, and nothing was ever written about it. Then we have the kids killed on the beach. A child was run over. His father went to wash his hands after cutting watermelon, left the kid behind on a blanket. Kid runs out, daddy, daddy. Guy turns around, his kid's hit by a car, run over. So what does Frank Bruno and company do? They parade him at the very next county council meeting, talk about setting yourself up for a lawsuit, as victims. And then we later find out that the mother of the child wasn't even at the beach. And the Florida Highway Patrol did a very thorough homicide investigation and determined that it was the child and not the operator that caused the death. And indirectly, lack of parental responsibility. So what does Bruno and Company do? They create these ridiculous steps. Well, first they spend a lot of money on another study, yet another study, and what comes out of it? You have to roll down your window, at least your driver's side window, turn on your headlights, and not text while driving, although none of these things were given as reasons in any fashion for the deaths of two children. In both cases, it was lack of parental or adult supervision of toddlers. They also made it clear in numerous articles in the news journal that they were going to have vigorous enforcement, and they were going to start by doing verbal and written warnings to sort of educate the public and not punish them. Well, I did a public records request with Mr. Byron, of course, the high-priced county spokesman, and lo and behold, no warnings at all, nothing on record. And by the way, no tickets issued either. So, and also, they're supposed to hand out brochures at the toll booths. Half the toll booths, they weren't doing it at all. So I don't understand why they made such a big deal about that. Anyway, getting on to the next thing, the last thing I have on my list of scandal was the fact that I mentioned earlier about the ad authority. Well, the biggest ad authority is the HA, or Halifax Advertising Authority, the HA board. And they hired a new director, a guy named Jeffrey Hent, supposedly is God's gift of marketing. And from what I understand, he's pretty good. But after the scandal with Southeast Volusia, they had a thing where they had a salary scale of a minimum and maximum. So what does the county council do? Ted Doran, of course, says, hey, we gotta have this guy, or Daytona Beach will go to hell. It'll be the end of marketing as we know it. So what do? They go above and beyond and giving this guy what he wants. So I think, yes, you deserve a lot of credit for being a chair in less than a year's time, for you, Dana, and all your grassroots efforts, for your candidates being out there. I could have won this election by 20,000 votes with this kind of, anybody could have.
What about the festival?
Thank you, that's right, the biggest one of them all. The American Music Festival scandal. Stan, we talked about this just before we started the show today, where you had the college being ripped off to the tune of in excess of $1.5 million. Actually, it's closer to $2 million. Before Bruno and Company ponied up money that was supposed to go for the LSO, London Symphony Orchestra, to go to vendors that wouldn't have gotten paid. And what happened after that? The college fired Kent Sharples, its president. But before they recouped $1.5 million that they lost from this failed American Music Festival, featuring one-hit wonder Usher and a couple of has-beens, Tony Bennett and Huey Lewis in the News, what did they do? They gave Sharples a golden parachute of $1.5 million, including his sport utility vehicle, luxury sport utility vehicle, plus full medical coverage for he and his wife. So with all that said, the college to this day, they had the scandal 2 years ago forced them to raise tuition, they had to cut programs, and they had to do a national search for a new president. So this is all under the rich, sanctimonious record of Frank T. Bruno.
And Bruno's wife works for it.
Oh, that's another thing. His wife is not to disparage her, but she is a vice president of the college and gets a hefty salary. And here it is where, oh, by the way, to make matters worse, Mr. Bruno goes in the news journal with not one but several front page articles saying, We want to make the college whole, no matter what it takes, even if we have to put jugs in front of the doorways to get money collected. While he was saying that, they were all working behind the scenes with attorneys to unincorporate the group that started this whole mess with Manuel Bornia, the promoter. And by the way, no money was repaid. The college was ripped off for $1.5 million. The college president was sent packing with a nice, $1.5 million parachute. And here we are now, where it's post-election, and yes, Jason Davis did quite well, but with that kind of a backdrop, I think the other thing too is people must think that the voters are stupid, these candidates. They must think that the public is really dumb. What do you think, Dana? Is the public stupid?
No, because I think, like I said, I think we've been getting the message out. Lucia's the second highest tax. I mean, also look at the referendum. It's in recount, but the referendum where the school board was trying to get more money and make us
Yeah, but let's be
number
clear
one.
about that recount. It might change a couple of votes, but the reality is, it would be highly, it's just not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, it passed by a small margin,
Right.
but still, it didn't pass by a small margin because I think
It failed by a small margin,
Yeah.
however, even that, when you have taxpayers or people that are struggling just to pay their light bills, here they are, that's still a close thing, but yet when it came to Carl Persis versus Jason Davis for county chair, Jason Davis became a Marco Rubio rock star with his vote plurality.
Well, it's a case of having the right candidate with the right personality under the right circumstances. I mean, you conducted debates that involved both of these people on a couple of occasions.
Yes.
And I think you would have to admit, Henry, that what you saw on the one hand, with respect to Mr. Bruno, was an experienced individual who had a lot of information because he had been in office for a long time, but who made it very clear that he regarded the chairmanship as his right because, as he said several times, he had been preparing for it for 7 years, and who, in the process of presenting his position, revealed himself as a very poor speaker and a very poor debater. On the other hand, you had Jason Davis, a man who came from nowhere, who, let's be honest, wasn't particularly experienced as a candidate, and wasn't as knowledgeable about county issues.
Let me stop right there.
But he's a strong personality and he's a fast learner.
Right, let me stop you right there because I just want to get this point before I forget it. I asked, and I made a promise to the public when I started this campaign that we were going to hold public candidate debates, and we held 15 in all, and we held not one but two for the county chair race. And I asked Jason Davis at the very first one we had, Jason, tell us about your take on the American Music Festival scandal. He had no idea what I was talking about. He had no clue. He's a fast learner, he picked it up. But that tells me that he really resonated with the voters. His sort of low profile, just like you said, boots on the ground.
Look, Jason is a very likable young man. He has an exemplary record. He is absolutely honest, and the thing about Jason, aside from being a very fast learner, I mean, ask him questions about county issues now and see what kinds of detailed, accurate answers you get. But the thing about Jason is, and he conveys this very well, what you see is what you get. There is no hype with Jason about himself. There is no
It's not about
hidden
me.
agenda.
Not about me.
No, it's not. It's not about Jason. And he says that all the time. It's about the county and what's best for the people of Volusia County. I think under Jason you'll find a very people-oriented, very county-oriented, fiscally responsible, and transparent form of governance taking hold in DeLand, and I must say it's well past time.
Well,
and to me, Jason is to like him, and Jason is one of those people that when you're talking with him, he could be your neighbor next door. There is no hidden agenda,
Well,
there is nothing, and you just like him. And also, he is also, like we've been saying, he's a fast learner, but he is learning to delegate. So a lot of times when he needed to get knowledge on a subject, he had a lot of his support. Help me get information on this, help me. So it wasn't, he learned how to delegate to get the information that he needed to make him the fast study.
Well, I was impressed, like I said, after he didn't have the answer I was looking for, an answer at all, really. He was honest about it. But when I came to the second debate, he was the one prepared, and he answered it very much to my satisfaction, and then some. So he is a quick learner, a quick study, and I was impressed. We did a Sunday conversation, which actually we posted today. I had a 32-minute interview with him, no holds barred. We talked about everything, including his lack of experience and the fact that people are going to be gunning for him because he's the chair. He's the new face of Volusia County.